Prisoners of Conscience Appeal Fund helps some of the world's bravest people, people around the world who speak out and challenge the systematic violation of human rights by their governments. The charity only helps people who have chosen not to use violence to express their beliefs. Shepard Yuda used to work for the prison service in Zimbabwe. In the run-up to the elections, he witnessed vote rigging in the prison and secretly filmed this abuse of power by Robert Mugabe's men.
I wanted to show the world that Mugabe might claim to be democratically elected, which I say no, he hasn't been democratically elected. He hasn't been elected by anybody, but he has forced people to elect him, whether you like it or not. If you don't vote for him, you'll be killed.
The aim of the Prisoners of Conscience Appeal Fund is to help people whose lives have been destroyed by persecution and political oppression make a new start. We help people in the UK and overseas. In the last year, we helped people from 26 different countries.
Johab Omondi, an environmental activist, organised community campaigns to protest against the destruction of Kenya's wetland regions.
I was arrested when I was in Kisumu, which is the second largest city in Kenya. The policemen seemed to have known me because my name had been circulated to their seniors. So they asked me for my identification. I produced all these things: university ID card, national identity card. When they saw this, they bragged to me that you're the person who thinks he's so important. You're the one who is causing trouble all around here. So they started beating me, slapping me, kicking me. And one of them got hold of my shoulders and kicked me at the back here, at the lower part of my spinal cord, and I collapsed. And for many days, I had a lot of trouble. I could not sit on a chair, so for many days I was just lying on my side. And so I'm still undergoing physiotherapy treatment up to now, 10 years after I left Kenya.
Wayne In's father has been jailed on 2 separate occasions by the Burmese government.
My father and his group, they marched down the street and more than 500 people followed them. They called for freedom and democracy. As a result, they were arrested and he was sentenced to 65 years and 6 months. The first time when I saw my father I was 4 years old, and it was in notorious insane prison in Burma, and there were iron bars between us, so I thought I could, touch him and hug him as a father and daughter, but the only thing I could do was just to touch his little fingers from, through the iron bars.
Prisoners of conscience beneficiaries and their families face overwhelming odds to rebuild their lives during and after their ordeals.
When I left Zimbabwe, they detained my sister and they tortured her. Unfortunately, she succumbed to those torture injuries and she died in January. So it means I had put the whole family at risk.
Prisoners of Conscience helps by giving financial grants to people to help them rebuild their lives at crucial times in their lives. We're the only agency in the UK that gives grants specifically to prisoners of conscience in exile and overseas.
When I came to England, life became very difficult. I had a very young baby, so the baby needed some nappies, she needed milk, they all needed clothing, they needed food, they needed gas for warmth. So I had nowhere to get the money, I wasn't employed.
The relief grants prisoners of conscience provide can be for a variety of purposes, like general hardship relief, medicines, travel cost, counselling, anything that provides help to rebuild lives.
There is no medical attention for any of the political prisoners, and my father is suffering a heart problem. The money we receive from Prisoner of Conscience help us a lot, because with that amount of money, my mother and my sister could go and visit my father for 4 times. And also she could buy medicines and food for my father. And it meant a lot of encouragement to him to see my mother, every month like that.
In the UK, Prisoners of Conscience also provide bursaries to help rebuild careers. Johab had completed a BA degree in geography and had begun a master's degree in Kenya. However, his qualifications were not recognised in the UK till he re-qualified.
Prisoners of Conscience helped my career because they paid the tuition fee that I could not pay myself and enabled me to requalify so that I could become a teacher in the United Kingdom. After finishing my PGC, I got employed as a geography teacher. A lot of students have done geography and gone on to do geography at university. And for me, this is the most wonderful thing, just to see young people achieve just because Prisoners of Conscience enabled me to qualify as a teacher.
The people we help are referred to us by approved referral agencies in the UK and overseas, such as human rights organisations, refugee support groups, torture rehabilitation centres and other specialist centres. These organisations may be involved with human rights activists and defenders in a variety of ways, but they don't necessarily have access to funds to give people financial help when it's really urgently needed. So they refer individuals and families to us for that direct, on-the-ground financial help that's so hard to find.
If I had not received help from the Prisoners of Conscience, we were going to freeze and we were going to starve. The difference that they made in my life is we started having 3 meals a day, because before we could receive the money, we were having 1 meal, 2 meals a day. We started buying clothing, we started paying for gas.
Help Prisoners of Conscience Appeal Fund provide more happy endings.